Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download. It's Tuesday. It's Dirty Air. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to cover Pocono first, some personal stories. Let's get right to it. The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media. Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of Dale Jr. Download, and we are in the Dirty Mo Media studio, and this is Dirty Air, and we're going to have some fun today. So, hello to all the SiriusXM listeners out there. Thanks for tuning in to the show on SiriusXM. Andrew's here, Dalton's here. Alex is in the back room there running the show, doing whatever he's doing. He'll be out here for Dirty Modo later. But let's get right to it. Want to talk about Pocono, the race. Was it uneventful? Would you call it uneventful?
The strategy was the biggest thing keeping me.
So yes, you'd call it
glued
uneventful.
Into it, but yeah.
I mean, strategy's cool. I don't want to say strategy's not cool. I can get into strategy and how things, but you know, 'cause you got to know if you're watching a race for the thrill of strategy, it's a long play. It's the long play. You're gonna
Definitely.
You're like, all right, I got to plug in, tune in, pay attention to who's on what strategy, and see how this nets out at the end. Right?
Yeah.
It's a long play. There were some moments during the race. Obviously, the Kyle Busch and Corey LaJoie crash. That has been chewed up and spit out. So many people have given their opinion about that, and we'll give ours. But I wanted to make note of what an incredible crowd Pocono had, and they had some massive issues with traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Listen, I mean, isn't it? It's a kind of an interesting thing, and I want to know if I'm the only one that feels this way. But when I saw some of the posts on social media, Noah Graxon's posting he's stuck in traffic and trying to get to the racetrack, and so part of me is like, yeah, okay, traffic sucks. Nobody loves being in traffic, but isn't there like a part of you that's like, damn right? Isn't there this part of you that's like
glad there's a lot of people there?
Glad that there's so many people trying to get to this event.
TJ had a very similar take on DBC yesterday, and I think this is a type of issue where this is not something that you want to deal with. Like the traffic is like, yeah, I get there's a lot of people, but I think it wasn't because there were a ton of people. It was because of the weather that came in.
Okay, so I feel like that there's a couple things here. So what I'm trying to say is we forget that, man, just in the last decade, everybody's been saying, numbers are down, viewership's down, attendance is down. Nobody's going, nobody's showing up, can't sell out. We did reduce a lot of seats at a lot of tracks to get to where, hey, bringing demand up for the tickets and being able to sell out, a $60,000 event or 60,000 seat event is easier than selling out an 80 or 100,000 seat event. I get that, but it makes me feel good, or it makes me feel some promise that we're having some traffic issues at some of these events. We are selling out Pocono that I don't believe has reduced seats. And camping there, the infield smack full. It looks and reminds me of the heyday of the 90s and the early 2000s when we were getting this type of a turnout to our events. We haven't seen that in the last 10 to 15 years. There hasn't been that much excitement and just people that really are willing to make that a part of their weekend, physically going to the event, right? And so maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something. I don't love traffic. I'm not, if you had a bad experience sitting around in lines and on the road stuck in traffic, I'm sorry, but as a fan, or as someone who wants to see the sport have health and be of high demand, I thought that was also a good sign. And And I know that, Pocono says, hey, this will never happen again. We're going to fix this. This will never happen again. We promise. I wonder, too, and I believe them, Pocono, they are rock stars, and they are the backbone to the NASCAR season. They're the dependable, the tried and true. I've always had a lot of confidence in Pocono. So if they say they're going to fix these issues and it will alleviate some of the traffic difficulties we've had this past weekend, I believe it. I also wonder, with the shorter weekends, has a lot of our fans that actually go to the races evolved into the one-day fan? Whereas in the 2000s and in the 90s, maybe a larger chunk of our fans were coming in for the weekend. Right, so they weren't traveling in on race day. A good chunk of people come on in on a Friday and going to spend the weekend there. Now, there's camping to me looks as full as it's always been. There's not less campers, right? So I don't know if there's a ratio of maybe we've shifted to where we have more race day show up, walk up Sunday morning fans that are trying to fit into fit into that infrastructure that's getting them into the racetrack than we've had in the past, right? And so maybe this shorter weekend where there's a lot less on-track activity has also shortened up the commitment that a fan would make time-wise.
And affordability, too. Less hotels.
There's no question. I'm not so much talking about that fan. I'm talking about the camping fan, the one that would come in with their camper.
Like the beginning of the week.
Bring their family, come in on a Thursday,
right.
Come in on a Friday even, and stay till Sunday. Are we having more people that are trying to do the hotel, trying to come to the racetrack from either a hotel or hours away on race day and trying to fit into what little infrastructure and avenues there are to get to Pocono or any racetrack? If you got 80,000 fans that are coming to the race in 2005 and 80,000 fans that are coming to the race today, what ratio of those 80,000 were weekenders or one-dayers, right? Is it changed a little bit because of how NASCAR's whittled down on-track activity and what reason is there to come on a Friday? What reason is there, right? There are reasons. Are they enough, right, to make it a weekend event for fans? Like, I love the idea of coming in and camping and spending a couple nights and not having to get up in the morning and drive anywhere and just kind of do what I want. But I don't know if there's enough happening at the racetracks to really drive a lot of the fans to do that like they might have years ago. I was wondering about that. It may be nothing. Another thing about Pocono that I loved and always have appreciated is if you've heard about the area, then the Pocono Mountains are a popular sort of destination for people to take vacation and so forth. It's a really good, fun area. A lot of resorts and kind of some neat places to stay, even when it's not a race weekend. I remember going with Dad. The races were in the summer, and so those were races that I could get to that weren't in the school year when I was young and going to school. And so I remember going to Pocono in 86, 87, and several years. And there's a restaurant near the racetrack, and gosh, wish I could remember the name. I go there every time we're at Pocono. I'll think of it in a second. Actually, I could probably just look it up.
Louis' Prime Steakhouse?
Louis' Prime Steakhouse. That's it.
There you go.
So Louis' Prime Steakhouse. Dad, that place has been there as long as I can remember. And I remember Dad always, when we went to race at Pocono, Dad made a point that he was going to eat dinner there one night. And so me and the NBC guys, and even back when I was racing, when we go to Pocono, that was going to be a dinner spot one night. And when I would usually stay in the bus. But then when Amy and I started dating, and then when we got married, we would rent a cabin or a cottage or in a duplex or whatever, right? We would rent a space. We would have TJ and maybe Mike Davis or Tyler Overstreet, but we would have we'd get our little group together, and we were going to stay in a home instead of a bus. It was, or a hotel. It was so nice. And that was really only at Pocono that we did this. And so, you get into town, go to the racetrack to practice that morning, and Amy would go and get groceries at the grocery store, and we'd all meet back at this apartment or whatever after the race afternoon activities, and we were going to cook, and then we're going to go eat at the steakhouse. And it was just, Pocono was always sort of a break from the norm of the motor coach lot, and in that confinement of the bus, or whatever it might be. And another thing that I always enjoyed was the paintball. We started a tradition with the Hendrick crews to go and play paintball. And we were always I was always interested in the building camaraderie, getting to know people better, and trying to find ways to make that happen. It's hard for me to walk through the race shop and lock in on a name with a face, lock in on what this person's about, their home life, what's going on in their personal lives. But I can do that if we're in an activity,
fun environment. So we would always do paintball because there were good blocks of time after qualifying or whatever on a Friday or Saturday to go do something. And the guys, the teams, they would get excited about it. We ended up getting Chad Knaus and the 48 team to come be a part of that. And Jimmy came once. And
is Jimmy good at paintball?
Yeah, no.
He's not
very good.
Can't be good at everything.
I don't want to say that. I mean, none of us were great at paintball.
Yeah.
I had my own equipment, and so I had a course.
Were you good at paintball?
I had a course at my house.
Okay.
And so I liked to play. I don't know that I was good at it, but I was. I enjoyed just getting together and playing and get afterwards. All of you get together and talking about the moments that you experienced during the match or whatever. And we have these pictures of us at these courses. We'd get a big group shot. I have one of.
I feel like I remember seeing this float around on social media.
There's like 30 of us.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There were a ton of people.
Yes. And so, sometimes another driver or another guy from a different team would come along. I remember Eric Amarola was there with us one time playing. And
really?
So, yes. I mean, other people would show up and want to get in on it. But that was Pocono. That only happened at Pocono. And so I got a lot of great memories there. Some tough memories as well. Dad broke his collarbones at Pocono in a crash leading the race. And the tunnel turned in 79 or 80. Flipped in 82 with Tim Richmond down in turn 1 and broke his leg. So Pocono was scary to me. And then I started racing at it. I respected it. We've seen the crashes. We've seen the cars go down into turn 1, losing brakes and all that stuff and plowing into that wall for forever. For as long as that track's been around. The massive hard crashes that people have had there. So you got to respect that racetrack. But I had great runs there. I really, really had a lot of good runs there. Right out of the gate, had that great battle with Bobby Labonte. Almost won a race there early in my career. Was able to finally get some wins there later in my career, but had a lot of second, third place runs and fast cars. I enjoyed, as much as I'm gonna contradict myself about hating, how we've always talked about how we hate shifting at the ovals. This new next gen car shifting at the ovals. Oh, get that? We hate that. That was the one track where you'd go and you'd shift, and it was okay. We never complained. We never thought, oh, this is stupid.
Because you'd be down in 3, right?
We'd get down into turn 1 and shift into third gear.
Yeah.
You'd get dropped back into 4th coming out of turn 1 toward the tunnel turn. And then eventually we started to where we could shift into tunnel some and down in turn 3 as well. But the shifting didn't feel, we didn't hate shifting like we do now. It's weird, right? Because you just did it there.
Yeah, right. It was one place. It was so big.
Yeah.
The speed differences are so dramatic.
And the noise that those Gen 4 cars made at the end of the straightaway, you're riding inside that car, and it's you shift into 4th gear,
screaming,
and you're like, you're watching the tack and you're getting down the straightaway and you're like, how in the hell is this thing going to hold together? How's it not breaking the valve springs just into pieces? I remember one year, and this is on YouTube as well, Ryan Newman and Penske were doing some really innovative stuff with their engines, and Ryan, they're riding in the car with him, and I believe, I don't know, they were turning like 1,000, a lot more RPMs than anyone else. And he was either not shifting in the fourth on the front straightaway or maybe he was shifting and it was just turning more. But even Benny Parsons and those guys on the broadcast they're like, listen to this. This is crazy. Like he's turning way more RPMs. His car sounds even different than anyone else. How's it going to live all day long, right? And, boy, Brian Newman just confidently is just like hammering this motor all the way around the racetrack. But, and I always felt, even though that track had a lot of danger and my dad had some serious crashes there, I never really, once I got out there and started racing on it, I never really got to the end of the front straightaway at turn 1 and felt scared. Even though I knew we're going over, 190 miles an hour easily, heading head on into the turn, what would be a head-on shot into the wall. It never crossed my mind. I don't know. It was the tunnel turn is probably one of the toughest corners to do correctly in the whole season. And now with as the bumps get worse over the tunnels, it gets more and more challenging. It's just you head off down that straightaway. I remember every single lap that I ever ran at Pocono, every single lap that I ever ran there, I'd come off of turn 1 and go, here we go. Gonna go through this tunnel again. And you never went through there and went, damn right, that was a perfect corner. You went through there and went, Jesus, just barely made it. Just barely made it.
Pucker factor was all the way up. Yeah.
Because you'd get to the end where you're going to lift, and when you turn into the tunnel, nothing about that feels comfortable. The back's light.
You just have to believe
you just
that the
have
car
to
can
believe
do
it. Yeah, and you're gonna go across the bumps. What is that going to do? You don't know whether you're going to lose the nose or the back. Something's going to move, and then you got to hammer the gas and commit to the gas and hope the back doesn't swing like the 5 spun in practice, right? Larson spins in practice all the time. You got to hammer the gas, and you're like, it's just commitment. You're committing without knowing, right? And so you jump in the gas, and you're like, okay, we're going to make it this time. And you just never know what you're going to get going in that corner. It's like, it's kind of like the fear factor where they're blindfolded and feeling around in those cases, and they don't know what they're touching and what's in that case, right? They got to stick their hand in there, and there might be tarantulas or snakes or whatever.
You just have to do it.
You're doing that every time you go into the tunnel turn. You have no clue how this is going to go. And I've never went through there and went, boy, nobody did it better.
That was perfect.
Yeah. Now turn 3 was a blast. Long sweeper, and you could overdrive it, and you could underdrive it. You could move around your throttle points in turn 3 and have a lot of fun with that, trying to basically make this front straightaway as long as possible. But just a really fun track. I do feel a little bit of envy watching them compete there this weekend. Summer is finally here, and when I'm thinking of summer plans, it's hanging out by the pool, barbecuing on the grill, and best of all, sports. From NASCAR races to baseball games, there's nothing like kicking back and catching a game with some buddies or the family. FanDuel helps me keep up with the latest action in sports, and all I have to do is open the app and make up any of the bets I'm in the mood for. This weekend, NASCAR returns to Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. Tune in to Dirty Mo Doe as they evaluate how the return to racing on the oval will shake things up this weekend. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/Dale and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. 21 plus and present in North Carolina. Opt-in required. Wager requirements apply. Bonuses awarded as non-withdrawable bonus bets or profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including bonus expiration. See terms and conditions at fanduel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Is turn 2 at Pocono the scariest corner to go through in NASCAR?
You know, it's for, I don't know. That is a really good question, and I think that should be a question that you take to the racetrack, Andrew. What is the one turn that has your respect?
Right.
And you could reference the tunnel turn and say, like, hey, I'm going to lead you a little bit. An example might be the tunnel turn. Another corner that equally similar, eerily similar almost, is turn 1 at Indy.
I was
thinking that.
Yeah.
So,
because it's kind of the same
angle.
angles. Like you're coming up. Like
you're flying down the front straightaway into a 90-degree turn. You never go through there and go, yep, nailed it. The car just does. I mean, I don't know how the next gen will do there. I can't wait to watch that race at Indy. I'm excited about them going back to the oval, and I think we all should be looking forward to that. I think we should be, apprehensive, or not apprehensive, but maybe, temper our expectations in terms of what race we're going to see, because it is the Indy Oval. We know it's one groove. It's not like we're going to see them going around there 4 or 5 wide through the corners. There's one way through it, but still, that's such a historic oval. We should be racing on that oval. But you would go down the front straightaway wide open, fly underneath the flag stand, and just past the flag stand, you're going to start thinking about lifting and where you're going to lift. You would lift off I always pushed there. I always was tight in turn 1 and 2. You lift off the gas, the car starts to tighten up a little bit, and it's like, okay, I'm going to commit to the gas, and if I commit it too soon, I'm going to get tight on exit and lose speed. They're going to run over me going into turn 2. It's going to cost me all the way down the back straightaway. So if you messed up turn 1, you weren't able to be recovered until you got to turn 3. And so you couldn't mess it up because it was half a lap before you would actually even out, right?
Kills your lap.
Yeah, guys, kills your lap either in qualifying or a lap in practice. It's so frustrating. It's a hard corner. It's not as scary because it doesn't have tunnel bumps and things like that are going to throw you one way or another. But it is a hard corner. The weird thing about Indy is when you look at that track from the air, you would think that what you experience in turn 1 would be identical to what you would experience in turn 3. It don't even feel like the same circumference. The corner, turn 1, and I don't know whether it's because of the grandstands and there's just no wind on the car getting into turn 1, or maybe it's the traditional direction of the wind and how it goes across this racetrack. But I always fought tight, and as you got to turn 2, the car turned a little better in 3, and loose in 4. Every lap I ever ran there, 99% of the time,
bizarre.
That's the balance of the car. It was always going to be freer in each corner, and that made me feel like the circumference was tighter in 1, and it was a little less tight, like the bend of the corner. If you look at it from Google, they look identical. Turn 1 and turn 3, turn 2 and turn 4, they mimic each other perfectly. But as you're driving them, the balance of the car was completely different in turn 1 versus turn 3. Turn 3 was a much easier and a better handling corner. The car just turned better, more front grip. You felt like you felt like you were making more time running through there faster. You had to use a lot more brake in turn 1 to keep the car from pushing that you didn't never use in turn 3. You could look at it on the telemetry and see that you drove the car differently in those 2 corners that look identical. But anyhow, Pocono, a lot of fun. I was envious. I can't wait. I think I'm going back there next year. I guess we should, we talked about the race. Blaney just kind of, I want to race there. They showed this actually during the broadcast, how Steve Letarte was trying, I guess they were using this as a way to explain how you can use strategy and pit early and pit late and things like that and cycle in front of people. As you're going green flag racing and everybody has to come to pit road, you can find a way to either be adding less fuel on the later stop to be able to leapfrog some people, which Denny talked about it. He was racing for the stage points. The 12 of Blaney was racing for the win, and so the way their strategy worked out, Blaney ends up netting out and being in front of the 11 when it all came down to the end, and that that track position has always been important. I mean, if you've got two relatively equal cars, one won't be able to pass the other at the end of that race, no matter who's in second, and no matter who's driving it. When Brad Keselowski he's going to win the race. He's got debris on his grill. He has to go up behind Danica Patrick to get that debris off, or his car's going to blow a motor. I go by, and now I'm in the lead, and he can't pass me because even though his car's just a tick better, it's just not good enough to overcome the aero deficiency of running second at a place like Pocono, which is very similar to Indy single file. Or it's relatively a single groove. I mean, there's some, they do run the middle of 1 and 2, the middle of turn 3, but for the most part, there's really kind of one way around. You can dirty up there pretty good for the guy behind you. This was kind of the case at the end of this race where whoever ends up being out front late is going to win this race. And that's what happens with Blaney. Good job by that team to use that strategy and put themselves in that position. Denny and them said they were racing for the stage points.
And that was the strategy that, Chris Gabehart committed to.
Yes. And so, would you – how many bonus points do you get for winning the race?
It's 5 versus the 1 that Denny got. But, and I think the broadcast mentioned this, it was a good point, Denny's also racing for the regular season championship.
Well, we'll see how it all nets out. I think, it's not a mistake by Denny and those guys. I mean, they're in second. Things could have worked out to where they got the stage points they were trying to commit to and win the race. I don't think it's a one or the other.
Is that immediate, the stage wins right in front of us, we're going to take it because it's there?
Yes. It's
really
very
tempting. Yeah.
And they should, right? Because what if you give up that and then somehow or another
still lose the race.
You have a little mistake on a pit stop or something late in the race and you lose 1 or 2 spots. You run second or third in the race and you don't get nothing. So it's not a bad choice by those guys. It just didn't work out. The biggest, there were a couple stories. Bubba Wallace, as we know, was fined $50,000 for putting Alex Bowman into the wall on the cool-down lap at Chicago. He says the penalty was probably the best thing that's happened to him. What do you think that means?
Interesting. Yeah, and he went on to say, I've been miserable for years, walking around with a persona that I'm not proud of. I need to apologize to a lot of people, especially that are close to me.
What? Man.
So just a wake-up call?
He was brutally honest in his media availability.
That's,
what do you think of that?
Well, so Bubba has shared with us here in this room and everyone else his challenges with his emotions, right, and his mental state of mind, right, and I appreciate him being open about that. We all have those. We all probably have more mental challenges and battles going on than we like to admit. But he's been open about that, and I think that's probably. It seems like Bubba definitely does dwell on certain instances like this, and maybe makes it a bit larger in his own mind than it is to the rest of us, right? And I can relate to that. My wife and I talk about that a lot, and I have that same potential. And so, like, something happens, we get into an argument, and I think the worst case scenario, right? And she's like, "Hey, that was just an argument. That's all that was." and I will carry it around thinking that,
over.
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in big trouble. And days go by where I feel like that I'm, we're at odds. And she's like, yeah, that's I'm not feeling that. I'm not thinking that. You need to not get so, spun out, spiral down this, hole. And so I think that Bubba is similar.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, he feels like all eyes are on him, for better or worse. When he succeeds or fails, he feels like he's under a microscope. And then when he gets this fine, and as everybody's going to do, they're going to cover it. The media's going to cover it. He feels the weight of that, and he goes home and he analyzes himself and does a lot of reflecting. And I think a lot of times your default is to, I'll just take all the blame. I'll just take it on me. I'll change. I'll adjust. It's my fault. I could have done this differently. I could have done this better. And there's some guilt. There's all kinds of emotions going on in there. And so, I would say, I might say to Bubba, man, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Even Bowman said it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. I would just say to Bubba, hey, I can understand the emotion. You ran into him. A lot of us didn't think it should have been a fine. It was a massive, I thought $50,000 was excessive.
It's a lot for that.
Excessive. I don't know. NASCAR has their reasons. I don't know what they were, but that I was surprised by that. That was a large fine. But hey, put it in the rearview mirror. Don't think of it. Make the personal adjustments, but don't have another thought about it. Right? Maybe in this situation next time he does it differently. Great, but otherwise, I think it's not that big of an issue. But that was interesting to hear. I didn't expect that out of him, to come in there and say that is the best thing that's probably happened to him.
It was definitely. I think it took all the media by surprise.
Yeah.
Too.
I wonder. I kind of. I guess, is he saying that it was a wake up call?
I think so.
That he needed. It's kind of like a little kick in the rear.
Yeah.
And I think we can all appreciate when we have those moments where we get a bit of a reality check. You get something happens in your relationship, or something happens in your professional life where you can kind of see the things more clearly, and I don't know.
Does any of that, is any of this kind of perspective of his, I know he's about to become a dad, does that change anything a little bit of like how you kind of perceive yourself?
Just makes you more emotional.
Gotcha.
I think. Being a dad makes you more, your emotions more volatile, maybe.
So do you think he's trying to rein that in, like he's feeling these things?
I just think this has always been Bubba. Bubba's always been
he's
sort
always
of
worn his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, Bubba's always been, he's always been emotional. He's always been, always kind of been this way. I know that he's also in a very challenging position in the points right now. That doesn't help things.
At least he didn't take a points hit from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what this, that is he is living his racing career on that bubble. Hasn't he been in this position pretty much every year?
It seems like he's always that 16th, 17th, 18th
He's
guy.
one of the two or three guys that are sitting there going, I won't know my fate until we get to this final points race. There's no relief from that stress. That is a very Kenny Wallace, Mark Martin, all those guys talked about this week. They got in a conversation on social media about how it's harder to run 25th than it was to run top 10. All of that is the same conversation in my eyes. So Bubba Wallace now admit he runs better than that, but still he's living that hard stressful professional life as a very volatile, peaks and valleys, emotional kind of guy. Yeah, he's having a kid, a lot going on, a lot of things to be excited about. But those things too, also those things that you're also excited about, also can stress you. You worry about their success, your personal and your professional. And so a lot going on. And, I think that's where this is all coming from. Let's talk about Corey LaJoie and Kyle Busch. Lots been made about Kyle Busch's miserable season. I think I saw a stat where he's wrecked, in the last 7 races.
It's not been a good stretch.
It's been a bad stretch.
His interview, he just seems so over it.
I've never worked with Kyle. I don't know what he is physically like and but I have heard that the guy is hands-on. He's not. Kyle Busch, I don't believe, is at fault because he's not plugged in, not available, not accountable. We know he's talented. We know he can drive. I also believe that he's likely doing all of the things off the track, right, that a driver's responsible for, and maybe even more, trying to figure out how they can get some momentum. He's full of opinions. I think if I could imagine what it might be like to be his teammate, I believe that he would be very vocal about things that he thinks they can do to get better. A lot of times, I say that because a lot of times when a driver gets in this situation, they disappear, they go off, and they hide, or they go to a comfortable place. They feel, they distance themselves, and it creates a bigger problem, right? And so, man, it is, when you run like it is freaking hard to go into that shop. You're embarrassed, you're ashamed, you don't know whether the team is believing in you or if they've lost belief. You don't know the next time you walk into that shop whether the shop's going to still be believing in you or have they finally quit believing in you, right? And so that's hard to go into the shop after all this struggle. And I believe that he's very confident in himself and he's still engaged. He's still plugged in. So I feel it's unfortunate, but I feel that the pressure is on RCR. And I will say this, man. I don't know. They are in Welcome, North Carolina. It's literally just another hour up the road. It is not that far, but it might as well be on Mars because it's like when you get an opportunity to hire somebody that has a lot of talent, one of the tougher selling points is that travel every day up the road. If you got people that live in Mooresville, live on the lake, live in Cornelius, live in Davidson, they're established, they've got kids going to school here, their wives love the area, they got friends in the neighborhood, and then you're going to ask them to try to drive to Welcome every day of the week, and and the traveling on the race weekends. It's gonna be hard. Which is, hey, Furniture Row did it, but I mean they were in Denver.
Yeah, it's completely.
It's a little different. Like that's like lifestyle. You're moving out of the state, which is impressive. But that's always been the challenge in my eyes for RCR. It wasn't really about, I think the challenge for RCR really is about getting people to come to Welcome and make that commitment to drive that drive or physically move there. Some do. They got employees. They got great employees. But they're if you're missing a couple key cogs in the wheel, you're just always going to be just that little bit off. And that's where they are. They're that little bit off. They're not crap. They're just missing that extra little bit that they need. And that I don't know if they can find it in the bucket they have, right? They have to get some more people in this bucket and getting them up there. I don't know, man. I am making assumptions. This is just my opinion. I haven't talked to anybody over there. I'm sure that they would hear this and go, We know what our problem is. We know what we need to do. We've got a plan, and we're going to fix it. And so, we'll just have to see. Can Kyle keep his composure, keep his patience, weather the storm? He's got a lot of season left. He's frustrated. So far, he's been able to keep it composed during these post-race interviews, and some of the tougher, challenging moments are those post-race interviews because you want to fire off. You want to let them have it. You want to let somebody have it. You want to just raise hell, because you're pissed. So we'll see, if he can kind of keep it together. And I think he's going to have a better chance at that at this age and this point in his life and career. He also has a lot of other things going on in his life to keep him positive. He's enjoying Brexton and all the things happening with the racing there, and his new sort of love for racing dirt and the micros and all that stuff. Those are good things for him to sort of at least find some enjoyment.
How do you view, tying it back to Pocono, the
crash?
The crash, yeah.
I saw some people comparing it to me and Vickers on the back straightaway at Daytona. If there was a double white line that Corey was refusing to go below, I would agree. But Corey had a little more racetrack down there, and he just said, "I'm not going to go there." After some reflection, Corey has dialed back his feelings about the crash, feeling a little more remorseful. I think he was definitely remorseful about tearing up all his race cars on Sunday in his post-race interview. But since then, I feel like that he's kind of felt like he bears the responsibility of turning Kyle. Kyle hammers the rev chip, and that's the second shot that the 7 gives him. And so if Kyle doesn't get into the rev chip, maybe none of that happens. But that's not Kyle's fault.
So is it just a racing deal then?
No.
Everyone's pointing the finger at Corey and LaJoie.
No, I think it's Corey's fault.
Still Corey's fault.
Yeah. So okay. I was driving down the road in my pickup truck. Okay. And so 16 years old. My friend's behind me. Now I'm gonna tell y'all that's a thing I did. I reached down, pulled the parking brake handle, right? So that the parking brake would release, and then I slammed on the parking brake and locked up the rear tires on my truck and slid my truck and then off the parking brake, and it rolls on, right? My buddy ran in the back of me in his little hatchback and tore his hood up. We pull over. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. That was a thing of me to do. I didn't think he was going to run into me, but he wasn't paying. He obviously doesn't think somebody's going to slam on brakes in front of me. I pull over. Here comes the police. I'm, whatever happens, right? We tell him what goes down. The guy says, hey, it's not your fault. It's the car following behind
you.
And so, it's Corey's the one in control here. Corey's the one that can control whether this happens or it doesn't happen. And Corey let it happen. He could have not done that. I have to put it on Corey. I look at it a little differently than what I did to Vickers, man. Vickers was blocking me below the line and we're racing for the lucky dog, and he knew it, and he thought, if I just pull over, it can't go around me because it's this yellow line right here, and he'll just have to lift and back up. I was like, the hell I am. I'm not doing that. You're the in this scenario. And so, people still want to say it's my fault. I shouldn't, I could have not turned him in front of the field and wrecked basically all the field. I could have not done that, but then every time I want to go around Vickers, he's just going to block me to the yellow line, knowing I'm going to lift. I don't know. Corey on this situation, Corey's got a corner he's entering that he's got to make. His entry to the corner is so shallow. I don't think they're going to make any gains down here in this turn, entering as shallow as he is. So I just think he's in a no-win situation. He's just got to say, hey, I got to get behind Kyle here, and I just got to follow him through this corner. Or he could try to go lower and maybe, I don't know, but I think, again, his shallow entry to turn one, he's not going to have any momentum coming off of turn one. It's a lose-lose for him. But it was funny because in my eyes, I saw the one thing that I did say that was similar to me and Vickers was a switch flipped. Like when Kyle blocked the first time, he bumped him, and then he's like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, do it again, I dare you, almost, And
I didn't even see Kyle do a second block. Kyle just checked up on the rev in the 7, popped him, and just hit him in the corner. But it was like, I don't know that Corey like drove into him or steered into him or was like, I'm wrecking you. But it was like, I don't care if I'm wrecking you. And that might have been the only similar thing with me and Vickers, because when I was coming back up the track, I knew I was going to hit Vickers, and I didn't care. But I was getting back above the line that they said we couldn't race below. And if Vickers had put me down there, and so if he suffered the consequences as I moved up, it was his own fault for being in that spot. And so I had that same, maybe Corey, he's had a tough year. A lot of criticism going his way about, he's getting a lot of pressure because Hocevar's performance is pretty good, right? He's now got a teammate that's pushing him, challenging him. There are some rumblings in social media about Corey, right? There's this new crew chief coming in with Rodney Childress. There's a there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Michael McDowell next year.
Yep.
More competition within in-house, so it's just, I don't know.
There's
a lot of stuff going that way.
Those could be bad things if you listen to the media, but if you were Corey LaJoie, you got to look at those things and go, those are positive things. I'm going to get better because of Rodney. I'm going to get better because of McDowell. The 77 and Connor or Hocevar, they're pushing me. I'm being pushed. That's good. I had needed something to push me. And so, anyhow, he's under a lot of pressure, and I think that was a moment where we're kind of seeing him feel that pressure.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people on social media giving him a really hard time.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing it for a couple weeks.
I wanted to, and some of that is deserved, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, and I'm not a race car driver, but I think that the results haven't been there, like you said. He's had a tough year, right? But I want to give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt on this, and I think that's going to go against the grain. But we've seen a couple of the top drivers make some mistakes this year. I mean, Kyle Larson plows into one, takes Ross Chastain out up the track. Christopher Bell spins out on his own, takes himself out of a race. These cars are obviously hard to drive, right? The best in the field are having difficulties with them. This is a little bit of a different situation, but I think that there's a little bit more of a target on Corey right now because the results aren't there. Yeah. So hopefully next year, Rodney coming in, even before the end of this year, getting some things figured out.
Well, I think that we gave Corey a pass, and rightfully so, because we never really knew what the equipment was like that he was driving. And fair enough, he's drove for teams that just didn't perform. But now with Hocevar, it's bringing the heat, because Hocevar is going out there and running well and showing, all right, maybe Hocevar doesn't always get the result, but he gets the car where it's capable of finishing, right? He'll get it up there in the top 20, top 15, and you're like, well, that car can do that. And so Corey's car should and can be able to do that. And so now you're like, all right, Corey, time to put up or shut up. And so there's some pressure there, and it's not a comfortable thing. But, Corey can turn that into a positive, believe it or not. I mean, if you're Corey LaJoie, you have to believe that. You have to feel like that you're going to figure this out. And yes, you could wait till Rodney gets here, but you need to start showing some glimpses that like what we're seeing out of Hocevar, right? Hocevar's giving us those glimpses of like, man, when that team, starts hitting on all cylinders, they're going to get the results that we think they're capable of getting. But Corey, I mean, there might be something else I'm not seeing, but when I watch the race, I just don't see Corey even mid-race, right, getting the car, moving the car forward, right? It's just he's always kind of mired in that 20 to 30th position. And there's no, that I don't, and that's not an all Corey thing. I think it might, I think Rodney's going to help. And can the public be patient and see how that nets out when Rodney gets on the box?
There's definitely, I don't think we're expecting instant results, but DBC was saying that Corey with Rodney should be rivaling a playoff spot next year.
You think?
That's
too much, man.
I think that's too much on a first year.
Spire. We're talking about Spire, y'all. Spire is
So what's realistic for them?
Dude, I want to give Spire all the credit in the world. They are doing some great things, but damn, I am so amazed at how short our freaking memories are. This team was, racing on, just a couple years ago, running on old tires and not, having to, Corey's driving the car and having to race runs on scuffs and old tires and finish races, not just, they're budgeting for 28th, like an average finish of 28th every year, just enough to stay in that, keep that charter they got, and boy, they were bartering and trading and fiddling and whittling with deals to make charters exist and be able to go to the racetrack. And to say, look, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying a Spire car can't get a playoff spot. But I think
Corey would make the playoffs this year.
I did.
A win.
I thought he was going to get a win. I thought he was going to have some fortune and get a win, like in Atlanta or somewhere like that. But man, it's just he's not performed as well as I think he has in years past. You remember him almost winning Atlanta when he's blocking Chase Elliott and all that.
Yeah.
Their performance just kind of tailed off a little bit on the 7. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're asking too much to think that they can. Rodney's going to jump in there and, oh man, they're gonna be 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th in the points next year, battling right around that bubble like, Bubba Wallace and the rest of those guys. I don't think that they'll be quite there yet. Now, I think 20th in points is the goal. 20th.
And best Spire car, would you say, is also an expectation?
Best Spire car. But they're both going to be neck and neck. But I think that they, with Rodney, they'll be this is the tough part. Like, Corey can look at the way Hocevar's running and go, oh man, this sucks. So much pressure. Or he could look at it and go, they're pushing us. That's good. I need that kick in the ass. Same thing with Rodney. I know he's excited, but get with Rodney.
It's going to be a challenge.
I know he's excited, right? It's like, oh man, I hope my cars drive better. I hope they do better. Hope they do things better. But damn, what if they don't? Does he have a little bit of that in his mind, in the back of his mind, going, what if we don't run any different?
Like, you definitely have to run better with Rodney,
If you don't run any different with Rodney, ain't nobody going to be looking at Rodney. I've been in that position. Steve Letarte was kind of my last resort. This might be a similar situation with Corey. And, if it doesn't work out with Rodney, where do you go from there? But you can't look at it like that, Corey. You can't. If you're Corey, you can't. You got to go, these things are good for me. These things are good, what I need. I'm going to use them to my advantage. Not going to make things harder and more, worse for me. So I saw Freddie. I love Freddie. On Don't Pop Clear, he said, they penalized the Riggs kid.
Right, yeah. I think it was a 2-lap in-race penalty or something like that.
In race.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think.
Was that a cup race?
No.
Was that an Xfinity race?
It was a truck race.
Yeah. Do they run the same booth in the cup and the truck race? Are they the same people? Same race director?
Do you think it comes down to that? Like it's the race director making those calls, or do you think it's a truck series? Those drivers don't have as much experience.
That's some good points. If there's a different group of people upstairs in the booth, those knee jerk reactions, those quick response reactions, like an in-race penalty for rough driving, right? A judgment penalty. This ain't a pit road mistake that's obvious that you got a camera and you see it. This is, hey, was that rough driving? Do we need to step in? If you got an entirely different group of people, they're going to look at it and choose differently. We got to stop that. We got to quit comparing how they officiate a truck race versus Xfinity or Cup. Let's just let's just stop that, okay? Look at you only should compare truck to truck. Let's look at the Cup series and what have they done there in the past? What would we be able to compare this to say, okay, here's the precedent? Because we can't look in the truck series and what they did with rigs. That's a different series, a different group of people managing that series. To your point, Andrew, younger kids that need some lessons, need some hard lessons, some tough love. This Cup series is the veterans that are, know better. And they aren't, and we're not worried about Corey LaJoie not getting the message and going and doing this next week. It's not what he's going to do. Right? But you got to send that message to them young kids because you don't know. Right? So I don't think we should compare truck to Xfinity or Cup and try to make sense of it. What have they done in the truck or the Cup series that's a similar situation? I don't think there's a precedent of them penalizing drivers for something like this.
Under green.
Yeah.
At least.
Under green.
I think the tough part about these...
That's another problem that I have.
Is what? That it just, since it got more attention...
That's what I feel like this Bubba Wallace situation at Chicago.
Because it was the leaders on TV. It was...
This got more attention than Chase. And yes, Chase's deal was not as egregious. But everybody's saying, and I'm going to catch so much this, but damn it. That's what I chose.
Dalton, clip this.
That's what I chose. So, all right, let me ask you a question. They're saying, Bubba hits Alex and Alex hits the wall. Okay. We are at a street course. There's freaking walls everywhere. That ought to kind of be in consideration here. But he had us winning it down. His belt's off or his belt's loose. Wait a minute. I'm driving around the racetrack with my belt's off.
This is a cool down lap.
No
But
do you undo your belts when you're cooling down when you're driving? Do you pull in the driveway and just pop that belt and just cruise on up to the garage?
I mean, I would.
Once you turn onto your road, getting ready to get close to. Hey, I'm close to the house, man. Home free.
This is the exact same argument that Brett had on DBC.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be like Brett, but let me tell you something. That ain't Bubba's responsibility. That ain't. All right? And so you can't can't smack Bubba's hand for Bowman having his belts loose. Now I could go to Bubba and say, hey man, next time he might have his belts loose. Let's not do that. But I'd go to Bowman and go, what the hell do you have your belts loose for? If that's even true, that's hearsay. I'm not even sure. I mean, I'm hearing people say that he has winning it down, his belts loose or his belts off. I just can't even believe that he would have that on a cool down lap. He's still in the car moving.
I feel like a lot of drivers do that, though.
No, they don't. Nobody unbuckles before they come to a complete stop in the pits to get the hell out. You're a complete moron if you undo your belts in a moving race car at any point. A complete idiot. That is, you gotta stop it. You gotta admit that. You're a dumb if you undo your belts in a moving car.
100%.
I think it's not a good idea, but I don't even think he completely took his belts off. He just loosened them. Is that? I mean, that's a difference, right? Then like
it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
If Bubba's move was enough, seatbelt or not, harness or not, enough to get a penalty, then NASCAR made that decision.
We all sat here. I sat here and said 15, 20, 25 grand maybe. And so this all comes from Tim's chiming in and saying they're going to take a look at it because it's got some attention.
That's a quote.
What does that even mean?
Direct quote.
That's what Denny said about Bubba's thing. He said if it wasn't plastered all over social media, it doesn't get a penalty.
That ain't okay, man. We can't govern. What do you even call that? There's got to be a good
like social justice almost kind of.
It's reactionary, not actionary.
We can't decide. Oh man, this has gotten some traction. This went viral. That's a reason for us to take a deeper dive.
It's a weird way to officiate.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, what are they willing to listen to? Is it just this, or when people complain about the short track package? Oh, but we're just going to keep doing aero.
Yeah.
You know, like what are you willing to listen to then? If you're going off of social media being a litmus test for what you're making decisions on, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, that's a bigger issue. This says more about how uneventful the race was more than anything. I mean, this was the only real thing that we can talk about as media this week is that incident. Because really, outside of that, there was nothing that even came close to measuring up, right? So I'm sorry, Corey, that this race was a long strategy race and not that exciting. And now you've done something that's the only thing in the spotlight, and I just feel like that if you didn't do it in the moment, well, we talked about this we talked about this with a penalty recently. Is like, hey, you either do it then or you don't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
There was something. I think it was Hocevar.
It was Hocevar.
I was like,
well,
you got to get him in that moment because he got penalized Wednesday. A couple points, right?
And the biggest thing is just looking at. And I know you were talking about, well, then I hate SMT, but that's is they have so much data to look at. They want to make sure it's the right call, even if it's delayed. But it looks like we have Ryan Blaney.
Congratulations on your win this past weekend at Pocono. It's funny, I was talking about this a couple weeks ago, how no matter, if you'll be a, Xfinity driver, truck driver, cup driver, whatever it is, wherever you get lucky enough to get that first win, it's really not it's not your choice. It just kind of happens, right? You happen to win at Pocono for the Wood Brothers, and now for the rest of your career, like it or not, you're just always going to be good at Pocono. Like I won at Texas, and every time I went there, it just felt like I'm going to be good here. I don't care what happens. And you'll see drivers that win at certain tracks, win their first races there. They just always seem to do well. Do you feel like Pocono is that place for you? Do you go there and be like, I know how to get around here. I know this place. I know what I need.
Yeah, it's a weird mindset shift, you know, like where you have special tracks to you that you get your first win at, and whether it's, like I got my first truck win at Iowa, so Iowa's always special. I got my first Xfinity win at Kentucky, so that place was always special when we ran there. And then Pocono with the Cup car, that place has always been really special to me. So, yeah, I feel like it's just like a mindset shift. Like, man, I've won here. It has a lot of cool memories. Let's try to relive those and do it again. And you just feel comfortable at that racetrack. And yeah, I feel like Pocono is just kind of one of those tracks for me that I do really feel comfortable at, and you feel like you have a decent idea of how to get around it. So
where are you?
I'm in my house.
What's that over your left shoulder?
Oh, I got some old programs.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. All right, is that the door to the pooper? Is that your pooper material?
That's the pantry.
Okay, I'm like, because that's the kind of stuff I got in my bathroom, man. You go in my bathroom, you're gonna read some old racing programs.
I got some. It's that way,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of old racing programs in there. But yeah, this is 1994 issue of the Talladega Super Speedway race.
Yeah,
So,
every time I open them things up, man, I learn something new.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So, what else is going on in your personal life? You, I know you went to the ESPYs. You enjoy that?
Yeah. Last week was probably one of the more busier weeks I've had in a while. Went to New York, did the Today Show, which was neat. I was just there, in January, and those folks are great. And then Gianna and I went out to LA to go to the ESPYs, and I presented an award. And I was nominated for an award that I did not win.
Yeah.
But it was cool, I feel like athletes, no matter what sport you're in, like you appreciate other athletes because you know how hard it is to be good at what you do at a sporting level. So there's a lot of athletes and coaches out there that I really enjoyed, kind of following and watching and been a fan of for a while, or new fans of, athletes that are younger. So that was really, really neat. And then we did a little kind of panel talk the next morning, kind of about the Netflix show and a lot of other neat things in NASCAR, and then I flew to Philadelphia and got in the racetrack about 1 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Dang.
So it was a long week, but
Wow.
it was all worth it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're one of those guys. We talked about it. You're one of those guys that's, always active and actively out, representing yourself well, but also the sport and NASCAR. You're, when you get opportunities to do any kind of work in sitcom or go do the Today Show, to take a trip to New York. Those are big commitments, and take an entire day to fly up there and do 30 minutes 20 minutes on the Today Show is a full day. And so I think a lot of people probably don't appreciate that commitment and what you're doing, time you're taking away out of your own life. You got just a limited amount of free days to be able to choose to do what you want to do with your own time and adult, and you're getting ready to be a husband and travel on down that road wherever that goes, which has got to be exciting. I'm excited for you. What has that been like? I want to ask you, put you on the spot and ask you what's the biggest surprise about that change in your personal life, but I don't even know if you have an answer for that one.
The wedding planning?
Yeah.
I think the biggest surprise to me is
how much stuff cost.
This is that's a big part of it. This is my first time doing all that, so it's like it surprised me of just how much goes into it. It's almost like I feel like what a race team goes through of like preparing for an event, preparing for a race. There's so much that goes into it, and you're just thrust into it. But John and I have tried to like really not get too spun out about anything, just like taking it as it comes and enjoying picking out little things that you want. And the cost side to me, right, it's like there's a number there. All right, here's what you want to spend. You're going to spend more than that. It's just how it goes. But like, don't worry about it. Just do what you guys want to do what we want to do, and make it memorable for the two of us, make it memorable for the family that's there, and let's just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And so it's been great work with her. We have a great wedding planner that's really helped us out a lot, like with the load. So that part's been nice. And it's been fun. We're excited. The days are closing in very rapidly to that time, and but it'll be fun. It's been a fun process, and I'm excited to when it's finally like arrived and here, and we can just enjoy the experience.
Yeah, that's going to be something else, man. Do you know what you're going to do for you don't have to share, but do you know what you're going to do for your honeymoon?
I do. Yeah,
Right.
We've talked about it. We kicked around a lot of ideas. We want to do a trip that is going to be a trip that like we wouldn't be able to do when you start having kids and stuff like that. When you have young ones, you can't maybe travel halfway around the world to go visit these places that you've always wanted to visit, when you were younger. So I think we got a good spot picked out of like, man, this is going to be a cool trip. I've always wanted to go to this place. And it's like the perfect time to do it before we start, having kids and pumping them out. And, so that's been fun. That's been fun to do. And do some research on these places too has been neat. So
Yeah, man. You that's another reason I'm going back to it, man. That's another reason why you need to start that race team, in case you have them little ones. You want to have the team developed and everything kicking ass by the time they're ready to get behind the wheel.
Yeah. I people ask me like, oh, if you have kids, you want to push them to race and want them to race, and I'm like, well, obviously if they want to, like I'd like to hope I'm still racing by the time they're kind of old enough to understand what it's about and what their dad does. And if they want to race, that's great. I will give them every opportunity to do what I did, do what my dad and family did for a long time. But if they don't want to do it, I'm not going to push them to do something that maybe they're not interested in. I'll fully support them in whatever else they want to do. So I think that's just like, and then my dad did the same thing to me. He always asked me at every opportunity he could, like before the next step, like, are you sure you want to do this? You sure you want to commit to this racing thing? And my answer was just always yes. I just loved it, and I just want to do the same. I'd never push my kids to do something that they don't want to do, because then you don't have like the full commitment, right?
Yeah.
If they're kind of second guessing. So we'll see. Hope so. But yeah, like you said, your pitch for the race team is becoming a little bit more realistic to me now.
Yeah.
You're doing some good work.
Hell yeah, buddy. Right, it's fun, man. I mean, you get to it's fun because you get to cheer and get excited about a car competing without actually being behind the wheel. And I don't know, it's fun too to groom people and give people opportunities and try to figure out how to make it win.
Like you did with Josh Berry.
Yeah.
Right? Like you watched him grow, you watched him develop, do a great job on the late model scene, and now look at him.
Yeah.
And like that's got to be a really cool, fulfilling feeling for like an owner like you, right? Of giving someone an opportunity and then watching it progress through their career and getting them to a level that they've always wanted to achieve. So yeah, that's got to be pretty nice.
You'd absolutely enjoy that, and I think our people like you, our world of stock car racing needs people like you and myself fielding these grassroots cars, right? There's not a ton of people out there that can really, it gets less affordable and challenging. And I think, there's plenty of people that want to put a cup car, an Xfinity car, a truck car out on the racetrack. And I enjoy that as well. But we need people like you that are out there putting the grassroots programs together to give those, the next Josh Berry an opportunity. And I'm sure we'll be excited if you ever choose to do that, man. I don't want to keep you too much more. I appreciate you giving us some time today. I know you're busy. Thank you for calling in. Great conversation. Great catching up. And I hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hi, man.
Good to talk to you.
Always fun to talk to Ryan. Great dude. Hopefully he didn't hang up.
It says all good.
All right. So you got your download. Always fun talking to him, man. I just think so much of him. Somebody, one of the girls that we walked with at Truex's Catwalk for a Cause texted me the other day and asked me, she was going to Indy, and she said, I'm going to Indy. Who should I pull for? And I said, without hesitation, Blaney. I was like, I always try to, I try not to be too biased, man, but the guy, he's just a good dude. And I think he's, like I said, he's out there sort of representing our sport, going to these events, taking our sport to the ESPYs, and making sure we have representation in some of these spaces and areas. And he's done sitcoms and all kinds of things. He's on the Today Show talking about his foundation and his charitable efforts with that. So always out there promoting and working, not just holding the steering wheel and driving the race car. We need, he's a good example for a lot of the younger drivers too, coming in as to the legwork that's necessary and the legwork you're responsible for outside of just your driver responsibilities. Got to have guys that are eager to represent the sport and help grow the sport and introduce it to a new audience and new people, new fans. He does a good job. We didn't talk much about the race. It's okay. I didn't really, race was uneventful outside the 778 crash, right? Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah, basically.
So I was good with what we talked about. Did you guys enjoy that?
Yeah.
All right, so appreciate Blaney calling in. Let's touch on the Xfinity race quickly, and pretty decent race for Junior Motorsports. Some we're still trying to work on getting some better results, but we've had worse races. Cole Custer gets a win. There was a interesting moment on pit road. Chandler Smith goes down to Sam Mayer's car, gets in his window, and I'm like, hey, what the hell happened? Sam, he can create some problems, right? For some people, he can upset some guys, and I'm thinking, damn, man, what the hell? Where's the surely they're going to show a replay and Sam's going to be bumping into him or something, but apparently he just was on his door through the tunnel, meaning basically, especially in the Xfinity car in the trucks, if you're on the outside and you're trying to make it really hard for the car on the inside to pass you, you get very, very close to them, and it takes all of their side force away, and they just can't get a hold of the racetrack. Their car gets loose, and they can't get in the throttle, and you can drive off the corner and drive back by them and reclaim the spot. And apparently Chandler, was getting annoyed by Sam doing this over and over, going through the tunnel. At least that's what I remember him mentioning, that specific turn. And so, but I will say, man, the tunnel turn is very narrow, and it wasn't until in the last 10 years that we even raced into that turn side by side. For a lot of my career, when you were approaching the tunnel turn and someone was on your inside, they were going into that turn first. You were going to lift, get in line. You didn't go through the tunnel turn on the outside groove. There was nothing there. It was dirt, debris, no grip. So it was foolish to try to drive in there on the outside of somebody, because you would end up missing the corner and losing more spots on the next straightaway. But now they race through there side by side because there's more grip, there's rubber, there's been some track treatment over the course of the last several years. Different things that have added some grip and allowing them to now challenge each other side by side into the tunnel, but it's still narrow. And whether Sam wants to or is even trying to be on Chandler's door, he really don't have a choice. So I was a little, I think Chandler overreacted a little bit there. I think, going up to his window and going, you're running on my door in the tunnel turn. What the hell? I mean, it's a narrow corner. It's really not a corner that you go through side by side. So if a guy does go through there on your side, he's got to be tight to you. There's no second groove, to be honest with you. And so, I don't know. I think Chandler just, chalk it up to good hard racing. Next time you're on the outside of Sam in the tunnel turn, run on his door, or next time you're anywhere, run on Sam's door and give it back to him. But going up to him at the end of the race and complaining about that is unusual.
Chandler said that this was he's always had good
run-ins
run-ins
not
with
had
Sam
a problem with Sam
up until this first one today.
That's why it made me
weekend.
feel like it was a bit of an overreaction, because it wasn't
they were always race clean. There's no history.
It wasn't like, oh, this has been happening for weeks. Damn it, I'm tired of it. I finally had enough. It was like, yeah, we raced great, but today, a couple times through the tunnel on my door, I'm going to go up to him after the race and complain. I don't know. That's just racing, man. I mean, that's just racing. I will tell you when Sam screws up. I mean, he ran over the 97. He owned it. And Sam has made some mistakes. He's 21 years old, just figuring it out. But I don't know. That's the only comment I got about the Xfinity race. Big story in the I don't know how big a story this is to some people. Be interesting, but I feel like it's dominating my timeline and everything that's happening, text messages that are coming my way, and that's NCAA football.
Oh yeah,
is back again. It's been 12 years. Feels like it's been a long time since NCAA football was available on Xbox or PlayStation, and it just came out, I think, a day or two ago, and so I'm probably gonna get it. I have an Xbox X. I haven't played it in a year. Haven't touched it. So I'm probably gonna get back on a console for the first time in a while.
Who's your dynasty team? Who are you gonna start one with?
That's a great question. So since the last NCAA edition was out, back then I was South Carolina or the Tar Heels. I'm not as big of a Gamecocks fan these days, but now they have the 49ers, so local team, Charlotte.
Oh, really? They're in the game?
Yes.
Holy cow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
And so, they're a college team. Why would they not be in the game, Andrew?
I don't know.
Andrew,
They're like the American conference, right? I didn't know they were included.
Okay. Andrew obviously is
It's very
on the
elite
fringes
of you.
It's very You're on the fringes, man. If you don't,
hey, I admittedly don't follow college football.
There you go.
I'm hanging on.
that's what I'm trying to say. You don't know what
Call
the
me
hell's
out.
going
Call
on.
me out.
Okay. You don't know what's going on.
Say it to my face.
I would probably do a franchise with the 49ers. I hadn't thought about that. TJ Majors, who was on the show here helping us last week, he will start a franchise of human owners and invite all his buddies. And so I'll pick a team, and I'll probably be the 49ers. Yep.
I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it'll be fun. And I'll be in a conference where I might not end up playing a lot of other human players. I don't like and this is getting into the weeds, and I'm sorry if you don't give a crap about this, but that's fine.
But we do.
We do. I don't like playing other people on console video games.
Like only CPU.
I don't like playing I don't love the idea, or I've never been comfortable with the idea of logging online and just randomly playing another stranger.
Why?
I don't like it.
It's just like doesn't feel right to you?
Feels weird.
I feel like if I play the computer, it's kind of too easy.
I agree. When we had our Madden league, we were on all Madden, so if you had to play the computer, it was relatively tough if you didn't play properly.
Right.
You could lose the momentum, which was a real thing in that game, and probably is in NCAA football too. But anyways, I don't know, man. It's weird to me to play a complete stranger, and I can hear them talking. They're talking to me. Like, I'm like, I don't know, man, because sometimes...
Can't you turn, comms off? Can't you?
You
Isn't that a
could.
thing? Or is that just like a...
Yeah, and
cop-out?
that helps. I don't mind it in iRacing. I mean, everybody's a stranger in iRacing, and I don't mind it as much. But for some reason... And I don't mind it in...
Red...
Hell Let Loose.
Yeah,
or all that.
I don't mind it in Battlefield and all of those games either. But in a sports game, one-on-one, like a Madden... I've never liked playing a complete stranger. Isn't that weird?
It's an inauthentic experience because they just pass the whole time. You can't, have a balanced offensive attack, I feel like.
And then, if you get your ass kicked,
then it feels even worse.
then you're like, who's this loser beating up on? Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Or what's he done with his life?
Even worse.
What a loser.
Even worse at the end, they're like,
and then
good game, and it's a 12-year-old kid, and you're like, oh,
that's the realistic, outcome is you just got beat by like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, and then if you're winning, and you're doing well, and then they're complaining, telling you, well, you're only winning because you do this all the time, or you're only winning because you run this same, this play, or. It just is never. Nobody I will say this:
win or lose.
Nobody walks away going. No time ever do both people get up and go, "Oh man, I had a blast."
Nobody.
There was when we were in the Madden League with TJ. Again, every team had a human owner. Brad Keselowski broke so many remotes.
Oh my god!
Oh, he's one of those
Really?
gamers.
Oh yeah,
man.
He would be like third quarter, games out of reach, and all of a sudden, he stops picking a play, or it's like he's walked out of the room.
Rage quit.
It's because his controller's now busted, and he can't pick a play.
I wouldn't have guessed it.
And Brad will be like, "You're gonna have to finish this one out," or. Let me get another controller. I've
how many controllers does he have?
Shattered this one into a million pieces. My point of that is, and I can totally relate to Brad's emotion.
Oh, the rage.
I have never, I honestly feel like this is a legit statement. I'm not overstating this. I've never, to my knowledge, to my recollection, been more angry in my life than after a game of Madden. And it might have been with a friend, someone I knew. Like that too is the reason why I don't like playing Madden and playing another human, is because the anger that it can trigger inside of me is uncontrollable. It's scary.
How do you? There's no calming down.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, I don't like who I'm becoming here, and so
there's no way of calming down from it either. Like, it just sits.
Yeah. Now I have to say, I had a stretch where I won the Super Bowl 3 years in a row.
Oh, congrats.
I had this running back that I developed. Great guy. Nick Hubbard was his name. A fantasy player, right? A made-up guy.
That sounds like a great fantasy player,
yeah.
Nick Hubbard.
Yeah, I was really, really good at building the team. So, I was gonna if I was gonna run the ball, I would install before the snap. I would have the packages set up to where I had the right tight ends to get in there and do the best blocking, not the pass catching tight end. That's the number one guy on the depth chart. Right. He's not in there. I got a guy that's off free agency that does nothing but block. He is not really even a tight end. He doesn't even belong on the team, but he blocks like a mug. So I'm coming up to the line of scrimmage, and I got like two tight ends on the right side of the line, and one's a 78 overall and the other's an 81 overall. Probably wouldn't be on any other roster, but hike the ball, and they knocked the damn cornerbacks and the safeties on their ass.
Damn straight.
And so Nick Hubbard, he's just chugging on down the field. Nick Hubbard was like an overall 68. He's buried in the freaking free agency chart, right? But he had like 92 or 94 speed and pretty good burst. And so I got him and developed him to 98, 99 speed, 98, 99 burst, and then started developing his stiff arm and all these other things. And in about a 2-year span, this guy's
win the Super Bowl.
Rock star.
Wow.
MVP of the league. And
unstoppable.
A name I'll never forget. Nick Hubbard.
We got to get you a jersey.
Yes, I do.
A Hubbard jersey.
I need a Hubbard jersey.
Wait, what team was it?
I don't remember him playing for that team.
Washington,
yeah.
When did he play?
The Burgundy.
Oh, no.
He never did. He never played for the team. Just on my
While
Xbox.
TJ in the rest of the league was running the tight end streak with a wide receiver in tight end position, which is unstoppable. Nick Hubbard was running up and down the field, destroying fools. NCAA football is out. I'm excited about that. There ain't many things that would draw me back to a console. I'm a PC guy. I was on the PC last night playing some iRacing, getting ready for a charitable event that we have this Wednesday for the MS Society that iRacing's doing. And so I'm on there all the time. If I got any time to play video games or simulation or whatever, I'm going to probably invest that time in iRacing. But I think this NCAA football is going to bring me back to the console for a little bit. Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. and we're live here on the Dale Jr. download for the AskJr portion of the show, presented by Xfinity Mobile, 5G coverage everywhere, hotspots everywhere. Hey, you want to connect to that Xfinity hotspot? Say yeah. We will sometimes find ourselves in a crunch trying to watch the game or whatever, and you're never going to have any problems with Xfinity Mobile. That's for sure. Hope that's clear. We've got some questions today. Andrew's here. Dalton's here. Everybody's here. Alex Timms is here. He's back there. And I hear these questions are amazing.
These questions are fantastic.
You told me we've got some amazing questions today. So here we go.
This first one coming from Carl. You're running the Hampton Heat this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Are you excited? Are you ready to go for that?
I'm worried about just how hot this Hampton Heat race is going to be. Looking at the weather, it looks like we've got a little, some rain in the forecast. Nothing too crazy. I mean, it is near the coast, so you're going to kind of get those afternoon thunderstorms and so forth. But instead of like 95 and 98, which has been sort of the norm around here, I think we're going to get a little brief, break into the 80s for this weekend. So I'm thankful for that. being in that car at 90 degrees. No matter how much fun driving a late model stock is not fun at 90 degrees. So anything above 90. So wasn't looking forward to that part, but I'm excited. 200 laps. I love the tire saving. I love the wore out tracks. It's got all of those markers. So I'm looking forward to it.
And you're going Thursday, right? You're going early?
I'm going to drive up there.
Test.
Yeah, I'm driving. Yeah. I'm going to drive my fifth wheel.
That's a far drive, isn't it?
6 hours.
Damn.
Well, got to get there.
Yeah.
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 Can't. Yeah.
That's a long road trip for me.
I don't know what you want me to do. Sprout rings and or float. I don't know. Get on a magic carpet. Yeah. I don't know what you think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drive up there so I can camp my camper, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm, it is a tough. It's like 37, 38 cars. It's gonna be a very, very competitive field. I've never raced there before. I expect to get my ass kicked in qualifying because I've just not figured out how to qualify this car and what it needs. But so probably gonna, probably temper my expectations in qualifying. But when the race starts, it's up to me, and I'll have all the tools and the necessary car to get the job done. I just got to figure out how to drive it to the front.
Tire management sounds like it would be fun.
That gives me a break. So I'm not a good qualifier. Never really was. I've struggled in this car just about every time we've tried to run it or I've tried to race it. I've struggled to get time in the car and qualify well. And so at the tracks where you do got to be smart about your tires, I feel like it kind of gives me a break to be able to work around and through the field. And so when we go to a racetrack that has a lot of grip, not a lot of fall off, man, you don't qualify good, you kind of have a hard time getting out of that hole the entire day, or the entire night. So this will be a track where there'll be a lot of patience and off throttle and taking care of your tires and being smart, and hopefully I can do a good job there.
Where I was going, you got to be smart with tires. You also have to be smart at tires at Richmond, which is where this next question's come from. Jerry, I think it was announced officially today, NASCAR will try multiple tire compounds for a points-paying race next month at Richmond. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, all right. So we'll see how it goes. It was really a non-factor in the Wilkesboro race, and we'll see how it goes at Richmond. I'm not going to get all that excited about it. It's not what I was hoping. And be honest with you, when Richmond, with the last race we had at Richmond, we came into this room and we went hard about what the guy, we better get this figured out or we're going to lose Richmond or at least a Richmond race, right? So I don't want to lose that energy of concern that we had because it was very serious. I'm glad they're going to try something. Will this be a deal? Will this be a big deal? I mean, it wasn't really a big deal at Wilkesboro, and that's okay. Not going to hit it perfectly right out of the gate. Maybe they've made some adjustments and made it a little bit broader gap between the hard tire and the soft tire to where it's a bigger difference in time or speed and wear and so forth. And so we'll just see how it goes. I'm hoping that there's something that can improve the racing at Richmond and get it to where we it's the Richmond that we know and love.
Do you think this is opening Pandora's box a little bit at all? Like once you do this, you can't go back to just one tire? I don't know.
I don't think so. Okay. I'm not too worried about that. I hear what you're saying.
Right.
Maybe so. I'm not too worried about that. I mean, it's worth a shot. It's worth a try. Wilkesboro probably wasn't a great place to do that because it's a repave, where we go to Richmond, it's very low grip, right? So maybe there'll be a bigger discrepancy between the soft and the hard tire that'll actually bring it to a compelling point. So I'm hopeful for that. But honestly, man, I mean, I know I've said it a million times, but I think if they somehow sealed or treated the track top to bottom and give it about a 3 or 4 year run without any more treatment, just treat it once and just let it go, I think you'd probably see some things you liked.
Something pretty cool on this YouTube chat. We have people tuning in from Poland and Brazil. That's pretty far away.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. So I will see sometimes on my Instagram, some Brazil, some support from Brazil.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a little bit of a NASCAR following there.
Really?
Daniel
That's pretty
Suarez
cool.
is going to
There's
race
a
down
stock
there.
car class down there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep. He's going to go get Daniel Suarez is going to get married in Brazil and then I
And
think
then
race
race.
also
Yeah.
the same week or time or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of interesting.
Not many people can pull that off.
No.
Yeah. Hey, honey, we're going to race.
Right after we
Yeah.
get married.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We're getting married and racing.
It is in Brazil, so maybe that helps a little
Yeah.
bit. Maybe
Daniel?
easier to sell.
You're not living in reality with it.
We got time for one more quick question. This one's coming from Richard. Did you see the IndyCar wreck over
Yes.
this weekend at
Yeah,
Iowa?
I did.
Just what was your reaction to that?
Oh, didn't Rossi run out of fuel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Yeah. And people were saying that Stingray was avoidable.
I mean,
There
I
was a
don't
lot of
know.
criticism on his part. Like, how do you not avoid this?
And this was right after the race?
I feel like,
This was
yeah,
after the
it was
checkered?
after the race.
What was
I
your-
think they were coming. It was a cool down lap. Not to
Was
bring
it-
that back up
I'm
again.
glad he
It was
wore
after
his
the race.
seatbelt.
I think it was after the race,
No.
wasn't it? Or the last lap
Says
or
the last
something?
lap.
Oh, it was last lap.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. Something
Did
like
you
that.
guys watch this?
I watched the
saw
whole
replays
race.
I don't
of it.
think you
I
guys
saw
watched it.
I actually watched the whole
Good
race.
grief. I'm
Because
all
Connor was in
alone.
it.
I'm on an island over here. I'll save the day. Here, let me tell this. You guys just go to sleep.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
We just asked the
Just-
YouTube chat, did anyone watch the IndyCar race this past weekend? So hopefully they can help
Yes.
with this
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah. Point the mic toward the
Yeah,
laptop.
towards the- here we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rossi runs out of gas. He said it's so. Look, I know the IndyCar goes flying in the air and flips. It looks traumatic, right? It looks crazy. But y'all remember when, in NASCAR terms, this is basically just Stenhouse blowing up and Carl Edwards plowing through him at start finish line. I mean, nobody was going after Carl because he
Right,
couldn't
yeah.
miss Stenhouse.
Right.
Same thing. I mean, Stingray has a funny name, so he's easy to target here. But I don't know that I was like my when I saw it, my initial reaction wasn't like, damn, how did he run into him?
Right.
I'm like, well, you hear on board, it sounds like the car starves for fuel. Knows it's over. And, of course, Rossi did a good job. Didn't start driving around on the racetrack or go up or down and make himself even harder to miss. But, gets run over.
A Florida man in the YouTube chat said that's I'm just
I know, yeah,
they watched it. Stephen Mann was there, so
What'd he say?
His
opinion?
He's saying that it's an extremely fast track. Not a lot of things are avoidable at that speed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't give anybody a hard time. It's just an unfortunate situation that nobody's really to blame there.
It was nice to see him give the thumbs up as he was getting
Yeah.
loaded in the ambulance.
That was the one thing that I was worried about. So I see the wreck happen, and I'm like, all right, that sucks that happened. But I'm not like, oh, this guy's a dummy, and this guy's in the. I didn't have like an initial. That's how I kind of decide whether, if I have an initial reaction to it, and I didn't. But what I did think was, I don't think that the restraint, right, and the head restraint and all of that,
The halo.
and all that. Well, no, just okay. So the driver is in there. His helmet is there's a sort of foam padded, U-shaped thing that kind of goes down around their heads. But I don't know whether I know that it's all probably scienced out for right-siding the thing at Indy and stuff like that. But is it what kind of protection does he have in these type of hits, right? That are these very uncommon hard landings, right? And that was what I was kind of worried about. Is like what kind of injuries might he get from this type of a flip where this car's hitting the ground in a very unnatural way, in a really hard way as well. So I was a bit concerned about that. But it's good that, I guess, he's doing well.
Yeah, I think they flew him to a hospital for precaution. It was just so far away they had to do that. I think I saw that he walked out under his own power. They just wanted to be sure that he was okay.
Yeah.
So
you don't see any cars go up in there and then land hard like that, like clack, 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 blam, blam, blam. And I was a little worried about that part, but yeah. All right, it's time for Dirty Modo with Tim's here. Coming out of the Pocono race, I heard somebody today compliment you guys on your show.
Oh.
Apparently, the last several weeks been quite entertaining.
We're having some fun.
Yep, and listeners are starting to pay attention, starting to get some numbers, man.
Yeah.
Dirty Modo every Thursday is available on the Dirty Mo Media feed, and it is a show about some of the best bets to make, but it also is really just a preview of who will run well. There'll be some statistics about who we think is going to get what result and who won't. And there's some data behind this information, which the professor brings. And then there's just some gut feelings, like where, Steve and you guys come in. And so it's always fun to see who nets out in the end. So how did things go at Pocono?
Pretty good for everybody, I think. The predictor went 7 for 10.
Damn.
Travis went 3-1 on his bets.
Yeah.
My big ones were Trackhouse over RCR, Bubba top 10, and Byron top 5.
Yeah.
So it was a good weekend.
All right, well, so who's going to be good this weekend?
It's weird. We're back at the Oval at Indy, so haven't run there since, 2020?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you got to go with guys that were pretty good at Pocono. There's that one turn that's kind of identical.
Pocono, Indy, Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah. Phoenix is a good comparison.
Yeah. Maybe how good do you think Christopher Bell could have finished had he gotten through the day?
It was weird because he was just a back half of the top 10 kind of guy, and the other 3 cars before Gibbs blew up were really good. So I don't know.
That's tough then, because he's good at. He ran well at North Wilkesboro, and he runs good at Phoenix. And to me, that's very similar, flat.
Yeah. One guy I missed that's also kind of fits that bill is the guy who won, Ryan Blaney.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think he would be good at Pocono, but he's good at Phoenix. He won Pocono twice.
Going to Indy where his boss has a big presence.
Yeah, he could be a guy to watch for sure. That's good. Go back to back.
All of Penske will be tuned up.
Oh yeah.
You
know all 3 of those
Logano and so give me 3 drivers.
I'll go Blaney. I'll go Denny. Denny really wants to win that race bad. I think that's just pure will. Yep. And I'll go. There's usually a surprise guy up there. I'll go Ty Gibbs. He's starting to turn the corner.
All right.
First win maybe. Brickyard.
Yeah. Wow. It's possible.
Oh.
We'll see. That's a stretch. I wouldn't put my money on him.
No, you don't like.
Watch him win. Like his first Cup race at Indy. What a day for Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, maybe.
Drinking the milk.
Yeah.
Of course, he probably has milk every morning.
Chocolate milk.
Probably.
Yeah, so he'd be like, oh, this again?
Yeah.
Well, chocolate milk came out of his exhaust pipes.
Yeah.
How do you blow up a damn engine these days? Good grief.
I know.
Those things are indestructible. I didn't even know that happened.
I've never seen a camera angle like that, though. The oil and water mix. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. I didn't even know these motors could blow up.
I don't know.
Wow.
Joe Gibbs has blown up a couple, though, recently.
Yeah. What are they doing?
I don't know.
Trying some things, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming and being part of the show, Tim's.
Of course.
Back to your booth.
All right, I will. That's my hole.
Get the hell out of here.
All right, it's time for the white flag. So a couple days ago, Sunday night, the teardown dropped with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. They covered everything from the race at Pocono. And Denny Hamlin came home and did Actions Detrimental, giving us his point of view as he watched Ryan Blaney streak to the win out his windshield. And he also gave some his opinion and his points about the Corey LaJoie Kyle Busch wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And then Door Bumper Clear came in and gave their opinions about everything in the sport. That all dropped Monday. Tomorrow, Speed Street with Connor Daly and Chase Holden. Connor raced as a last-minute sub for Jack Harvey at Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's racing this weekend, too.
In an Xfinity car, right?
And trucks.
I mean, how does this dude land these rides? They're not that he doesn't deserve to race, but it's his rides are so obscure.
It's a grind.
Yeah, he's in nitrocross and all that.
Yeah.
He does everything, man.
Is he just on the phone all day?
I
think
honestly
probably.
think so.
Is he just like cold calling teams? Hey, you need a driver?
And they do.
Yeah.
And
Respect.
Connor's a great guy to go out there and do it.
Yeah. Hey.
What's crazy is he's racing at IRP in the trucks and then Xfinity at the big oval, and I think a lot of those practice times
He's just
are really
spamming
close to each other.
cold calls.
Damn right, yeah.
He's just got them all on like one button. He's got a big board at his house, and he just pushes a button and it calls the team.
That'd be sick.
You got any openings?
I'll call you next week.
Yeah. Yeah. See if anything's changed. Anyhow, tomorrow we have Winston Kelly as our guest for the Allied Guest segment. Winston Kelly was a lead pit reporter, MRN, for over a decade, and then he is now the executive director at the Hall of Fame. And we tried to get him in here for a while to come tell us some stories, and he's coming. So I'm looking forward to that. Great dude, great friend of mine. And Thursday, DJD Reloaded is back. We had a little pause in DJD Reloaded because we had 2 segments of the Gary Nelson interview. And so Reloaded is back. And Dirty Modo is coming out Thursday. They will preview the race, tell you who they think is going to run good, who will run bad in betting terms. So if you like betting, you'll learn something. If you don't like betting, you'll still learn something. Dalton has our weekly social media standout.
Yeah, I've got a good one this week. Your Wasp video went pretty viral.
Did it?
And I was a lot of people
So
that
I'm winning
said,
an award?
yeah, I think so.
Social media
We're gonna give you
standout.
a Buzz award.
Congratulations.
at Wasp
Weekly.
B.
Can we have like a couple of, do like employee of the month, but it's weekly standout?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just be you
And,
up there all the time.
we'll just
yeah.
we'll just all do it, get some headshots made and
Nice.
get some really cheesy,
Like,
frames.
yeah, with the whole,
Some
the
really
80s
cheesy
poses.
oval frames.
What
I
does
like
the
that.
winner get? That's
Nothing.
That?
Your ass
You're
on
the
a wall. Yeah. You get your face on a wall. That's what you get.
Cool. That sounds really awesome.
And then we won't put Andrew's face on the wall all year.
No. Everybody,
you
everybody
just-
else will get up there.
Yeah, missed it by that much. Just so close.
He'll win most improved every year.
Wow. I feel like I'm getting
doing
LaJoie'd
better.
right now.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. But we had a lot of comments. Someone's like, it's a theme with wasp nests and deer stands. I don't know. I guess that's a big problem. But this one stuck out to me from Doolittle Lamar on Instagram. He said, I tried to knock a nest off a seat on a deer stand once. They tore my ace up, as he said.
Damn.
One side of my head, all down my neck. The guy that I was with swears to this day that I turned away from the tree and ran down the ladder facing outwards with no hands. Walking out of the woods, that side of my head felt like it was throbbing and vibrating all at the same time. This guy's got like redneck superpowers after running
Survived
down.
it,
I mean,
yeah.
he just
That's why he's going on the wall.
looks like a cartoon running down the ladder without using his hands. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that story.
I do.
You
if
think you run like
yes.
that? Or
Yeah.
run like hell from wasp?
Yeah, I do. The wasp will make you do things.
Yeah. I wonder what other like.
It's like the old lady can lift a car.
I played the video for Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Great job by you guys. I don't know who came up with some of the ideas
It's
to put
Dustin.
the wasp head on.
It was Dustin.
We need more of that. We need more of the funny videos, the funny voices. I'll keep being an idiot and telling my idiot stories.
That's easy.
You guys just just take advantage of it. Just really take advantage of it.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
You're gonna squeeze it for all we got. But yeah, that was our standout.
All right, question of the week is coming from Noah Gregson. Tim's has got the recording of this.
I just got the Lego Titanic. Can we have a Titanic off? And so you can build it first? Yeah, Titanic build off. So, and then I got the Empire State, I got the Statue of Liberty. We've done the Empire State Building. But I also have the Eiffel Tower, which is like 10,000 pieces. But that's the one I want to do last because I'm not looking forward to that one. But the Titanic, I'll start late. I know he's got a head start, but I feel like I'm a master builder for sure. So I'm all bricked up.
So, Noah Gregson, he texted me and asked me if I would do a build-off. The trouble is that the Titanic is in South Carolina in my beach house.
Yeah, you left it there.
I left it there. So, if he would like to what he ought to do is we ought to do a different set. Since I've started early, he could get a different set.
You should do the Eiffel Tower.
No. So I looked at the Eiffel Tower. I ain't buying that one, and he just said it himself. He's not looking forward to it. The Eiffel Tower is so redundant from top to bottom. The build of it would just be so boring. Redundant.
Yeah.
All the pieces are quite similar all the way through the process. It would just be really like stacking pennies, right? Just very redundant.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
very
stacking pennies.
redundant.
Yeah. So
It's just our 2 cents.
yeah. So
Anyway.
Never
go.
mind.
I think that we should get. So what's that Star Wars?
Millennium Falcon.
Yes, I have it. He could get the Millennium Falcon. I'm like a casual Star Wars fan. I'm no hardcore dude like Blaney, and maybe I don't think I'm not. Never heard Gregson really talk much about Star Wars, so he's probably on my level in terms of fandom. So we both could get that kit, build it. It's a tough kit. It's one of their bigger ones. The other one I think we could do is the DeLorean. I mean, if we got that one would take, a long time. Now, I would agree to do it. I'd agree to have this build off with Noah. But I'm just going to tell you, Noah's going to win. Because Noah's going to stay up and do this thing over all night long. And
just, win overnight.
Hey, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm finished. And I'm going to be like, my ass had to go to bed at 2 because I got to get up and get the girls ready and then take Kylo over to dance camp. And I can't, my ass can't be building a damn Lego set at 7 o'clock in the morning and expect to not have some pissed off people in my house. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that life that you have, Noah. So I can't expect to win this, but I'll do it if he wants to do it.
I like it.
Just because I think I would do it in knowing and having the satisfaction that when I was ready to get up from the table and go to bed, I did, and he sat there all night and built this thing.
It's a win in your book.
It's a win in my book.
Yeah.
He did an all-nighter with a 10,000-piece Lego set.
College,
Yes.
It was crazy. Crazy stuff. Pulled all-nighters building Legos.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's the show. Hey, tune in tomorrow for Winston Kelly during the Allied Guest segment. And thank y'all for tuning in for Dirty Air today. We appreciate you. Take it easy.